Hello, everyone. Today I will be introducing a very useful feature in the Onfinity system that is auto data marking. This feature helps us automatically track, mark, export, and migrate our master data from one environment to another environment. First, we need to understand what auto data marking is and why this configuration tool has been introduced in our system. Let's understand this with an example. Assume we have two system environments. The first one is a non-production environment, and the second one is a production environment. In the non-production environment, we configure various master data records. These include role master, user contact information, product master, vendor master details, customer master details, text category, and several other master configurations. Once all configurations are completed in the non-production environment, we move to the production environment. Naturally, we want the same master data that was created in non-production to be available in the production as well. Earlier, this data had to be created manually in the production environment. During manual data entry, there were chances of errors such as incorrect values, missing records, or inconsistent configurations. To avoid such issues, or at least minimize these errors, we introduce a new configuration tool that is called auto data marking. This tool automatically marks the configured master data and allows us to migrate it from one system instance to another. In simple terms, the main purpose of this auto data marking is to migrate master data from one environment to another environment accurately, efficiently, and without manual effort. Now that we understand the purpose of auto data marking, we will move forward to discuss its internal implementation and see how this configuration is set up in the system agenda. This is the overall structure of today's session. We will begin with the core concept and purpose of auto data marking. From there, we will discuss how data marking files are created and managed, how the recorder works behind the scenes, how master records and dependencies are captured, and finally, how XML files are generated and imported. We also conclude with the import data options, specifically the difference between insert only and insert and update. This agenda will help us move step by step through the entire process. Objectives. Next in this session, we will cover the key points for these objectives. By the end of this session, you will clearly understand that how auto data marking works, how to mark and export data, and how to import it, and into another instance smoothly. You will also understand how this automation reduces a lot of manual work, avoids errors, and saves time. Next, prerequisites. Before using this feature, there are few system-level prerequisites that must be in place. Required modules such as the Vienna Advantage Framework, Vienna Advantage base files, Vienna Advantage standard modules must be installed with the required minimum versions. Additionally, the auto data marking module needs to be installed, and a dedicated role should be assigned to users whose activity will be tracked. Only then does the data recording mechanism function correctly. Introduction to auto data marking. Now, let's start with a quick introduction of auto data marking. In the Onfinity system, auto data marking is a simplified process that helps in the smooth migration of master data and important data across different environments. The best part is that it automatically identifies and marks any master data that is created or updated by users. So we don't have to track changes manually. The system does it for us. Now, coming to the purpose, the main purpose of the auto data marking is to make data migration faster, more accurate, and more consistent. Once this data is marked, we can easily export it as XML files and import it into another instance. This helps maintain uniformity across multiple environments, reduce errors, and saves a lot of time during the migration process. Use case. Let me explain the practical need for this feature through a common use case. During implementation or testing, most of the master data is first created in the UAT environment. For example, if we create a new product master along with its category UOM, tax setup, and price list version, all of this data is required later in the production environment as well. If we try to recreate everything manually, we risk missing dependencies, entering incorrect values, and repeating a lot of effort. Auto data marking avoids this problem entirely. The moment the product and its related data are created in UAT, and the system automatically records them inside the active data marking file. Later, we simply export the data record package from UAT and import it into production, ensure the entire setup is recreated accurately. Next, we will move to the concept of the data marking file. The data marking file works as a central container where all track changes and recorded activities are stored. Whenever users create a new data marking file, they are essentially initiating a fresh recording session under a specific role. Users can also open existing files to review the previously captured data, check the processing status, and verify whether the file is still active or has already been used. So, in this section, I will show how we can work with a data marking file, specifically how to create a file and how to add it into the system. Now let's move to the Onfinity ERP system and log in using the tenant credentials. Here, I will explain how we work with the data marking file in the system. So the first thing you need to do is to go to the menu and open the search utility. In the search box, just type data marking file and press enter. As soon as you do that, the system shows you the data marking file screen at the top of the results. From there, you simply click on to open the screen. Once the screen is open, the system gives you two options. You can either add a file or you can view the files that already exist. Let's talk about the adding a new file. When you click on this Add New File button, a new screen is open. In this screen, the system asks you to select the role for which you want to record the data. So, you first choose the role. After that, you get a drop-down where you have two choices. Either create a completely new data marking file or continue with an existing file that has been processed yet. If you select Create New, the system automatically suggests a file name based on today's date and a random number, but you are free to change the file name if you want. If instead you select Existing File, it means you want to continue using the file that was created earlier but not yet processed, and the system will reuse the data already captured under that file. Once you fill in all these details, you simply click on the Save button. After saving, if another user is already using the same role at that time, the system will display an informational message indicating that the recorded files have been changed. This mechanism ensures that two users do not record data under the same role simultaneously. Once the record is saved, you will notice that the recorder starts automatically on the top right corner of the screen. This recorder indicates that the system has now began tracking all the data you create or update. Everything you perform from this point onward will be recorded and stored inside the data marking file that you just created. Once the file is marked as inactive, the recorder will automatically stop. Now let's move to the second option, which is View Existing File. When the data marking file screen is open, apart from the Add New File option, you will also see this option that is View Existing File. Once you click on this button, a new screen will open. On this screen, we can see the list of all data marking files that have been created earlier. Here we can also check the current status of each file. For example, which file is actively being used right now for recording. If the data from a particular file has already been imported into another file and a new file is created afterward, then the system automatically marks the process checkbox as true for that previous file. This helps the user easily identify which files are completed and which ones are still active or pending. Now we have reviewed both the View Existing File screen and the process of creating a new file. After creating a new file, it appears on the top right corner on the screen as the active recorder. This indicates that the file is now active and ready to capture data, mark the required records. Next is Recorder. The recorder is the active tracking mechanism of the system. When a data marking file is active, the recorder automatically starts tracking every saved, changed to master records. User can see a visual indicator at the top of the screen confirming that tracking is in progress. All create and update actions performed during this time are captured in real time. The recording stops only when the file is marked inactive. Come to the next, that is Master Records. Master Records form the foundation of various modules. These include products, price list, text rates, organizations, roles, and other core configurations. When the recorder is active, any new or modified master record is immediately captured. Auto data marking is applicable only to screen with table type no master in the database schema, Other screens may allow record creation, but are not considered for auto data marking. This will only work for the table type master, whose screens has table type master, and this also includes all associated child records or dependent values, ensuring completeness of the exported data. Now again, let's come back to the Onfinity system. We already know that we have created the data marking file. Once the user defines the file name and the recorder starts, the next step is to create the data that needs to be imported. From this point onward, whatever data the user creates or updates will be automatically recorded inside that data marking file. Now let's take an example to understand how the data gets recorded. Here I am taking the product master screen as an example, where we will create a new record that will later be used for import. To do this, first go to the search for the product master screen. Once the product master screen opens, the first step is to click to the new record. To create a record in the Onfinity system, here the user needs to enter the product name, select the product type, and choose the text category. After entering all the details, simply click on the Save button to save the record. Now that the product is created, the next step is to add its conversion. Go to the conversion tab. Once the conversion is open, click to the new record. Add here conversion to. After filling all these details, click on the Save button to save this conversion record. Record is saved. The entire process creating the product and their entire conversion is recorded by the system because the recorder is already active under the data marking file. In the previous step, we only created a new record on the product master screen. Now let's take another example to understand how the system records updates as well. For this, we will open the tax rate screen and update the existing record. This will help us how the data marking file captures not only the new entries, but also any modification made during the recording process to update a record. First, go to the menu and use the search utility for this tax rate. Tax rate screen is open. Now click Go to the Update, the existing record for the data marking. Let's say rate 10. This is the existing records which is available. Let's take one example that is rate 10, and then we update the rate percentage from 10 to 15 and click on the Save button. This update will also be captured by the recorder update the same data marking file. So in this way, we have prepared our master data both by creating new records and by updating existing ones. All these actions have been captured by the recorder inside the data marking file. With this, our master data is now fully ready for the marking process and can be used for generating the XML files in the next steps. So please continue for the next video, where we will learn how to generate the XML file process.